What exactly is consciousness? Well, it is self-awareness, self-reflection. In order for you to know that you are you, you have to have something else to compare it to. Without a concept of an other, you would not have a concept of self. Therefore, consciousness is literally self-reflection, self-awareness, the ability to know the self by knowing what is not the self. The idea is, as we have described from time to time, that existence is one unbroken thing. There is an aspect or a form or a version of existence that we call the one, for convenience, that does not know itself. It is completely homogeneous in the sense that there is nothing else but it, therefore there is absolutely no reference point for it. Therefore it has no sense of self, no experience, no self-awareness whatsoever. But there is also the version of existence that does know itself. And that is what we term, for convenience, all that is. It is literally the existence that is aware of itself because it creates within itself a kind of reflective pattern of resonance of energy, and therefore creates otherness within itself, a reflection of itself, and therefore it can know itself that way by comparing the reflection of itself to itself and become self-aware. Those reflections continue to reverberate on and on and on and on and on infinitely, and each and every one of those reflections then is literally all that exists within all that is made of. All of you, all of us, everything you can imagine is a reflection of existence knowing itself through all that is. So consciousness, very importantly, requires the concept of otherness within existence in order to know itself. And life experiences and time and space and all that you ever experienced, experience now, or will experience is the product of all that is knowing itself in all the ways that it can. Every single thing, every single being, every single concept within existence are all the different eyes of God, if you want to put it that way, through which it sees itself in those reflections. But because it is actually consciousness itself, because it is conscious of itself, then all the reflections are also made of that consciousness. All the reflections are conscious too, such as all of you, all of us, everything. Now, everything may not express the idea of self-aware consciousness in the way that you do, but everything is still an expression of self-aware reflected consciousness. Even a rock has some degree of awareness that it is this rock and not that rock. But it may do that through a being such as yourself. By you noticing that there is this rock and this rock, you are including the idea of your reflection of consciousness in such a way that the rock can know itself through your perception. Even though it may not know itself exactly in the way that you do, it is still on some level aware that it is its own rock. So consciousness is everything, is everywhere, and you can experience it in a number of different ways. If you get more aware of nature, more aware of all that is, more aware of different parallel realities and dimensions, different aspects of imagination and creativity, because there cannot be anything that you can imagine that is not somehow part of all that is. Existence is what it is. It is in no way, shape, or form subject to anything, because everything exists within existence. Time and space are subject to existence. Existence is not subject to time and space. Existence just has one quality. It just is. That's its nature. It is, and therefore non-existence is not something that existence can become. Non-existence has its own quality. It is that which does not exist. Therefore, by definition, non-existence doesn't exist. Therefore, everything that you experience is part of existence, on some level real unto itself, a reflection of all that is, experiencing itself in all the ways that it can, and expanding and expanding and expanding in infinite reflections to allow for the expansion of all that is, knowing itself. Now, the structure of existence never changes. That is fixed. It is a definitive, reflective structure. What changes, what expands, are all the different viewpoints, experiences, and perspectives of the structure that never changes. So it is both changing and unchanging, again, exhibiting that paradox of that which does not know itself and that which does. And this is why it all comes down to that ancient idea you have heard on your planet for thousands of years as to why it is so important to know thyself. Because the idea is, as you know more and more and more of who and what you are as an expression and a reflection of the infinite, of all that is, you experience more of being all that is as the aspect, as the reflection of all that is, that each and every single one of you is. Is this making some sense? All right. So remember that this is why we say that your point of power is in paradox. Somewhere in between what appear to be two polar opposites, that which does not know itself, that which does, is in a sense the truth of existence itself, because everything issues from that center point and demonstrates very clearly that even though sometimes we know you think of existence as a duality, positive and negative, it is in fact actually a trinity, because there is always a balance point in the center. And therefore, being in that balance point, being in that state of being, is always the state of being that will allow you the best possible way to know yourself, the best possible way to receive more of the reflection of yourself. And as you expand and expand your perspective and expand your experience of all that is from your unique point of view, you then become more and more in all ways who you truly are, which is all that is. But you have decided here and now to play the game for a while of forgetting who you are, because you need to forget who you are in order to remember who you are from a new point of view. You have to wipe the slate clean in order to have a truly new experience, because if you exist only in a timeless state, there is no change, there is no growth, there is no discovery. So you play the game of imposing on yourself these kinds of blinders to forget that you are in fact infinite, to forget that you are in fact eternal, to forget that you are in fact all that is, so you can play the game of not being all that is and explore and discover new perspectives of yourself. And that's what allows all that is to grow and expand forever and ever and ever. It never ends. Never, ever, ever. You have ideas on your planet that you call such things as blending with God. Well, when I blend with God, I guess that's it. No. Because as you blend with God, what you actually experience is that you are God. There is nothing but you. And this is what each and every one of you can experience, because it's holographic in nature, it's holographic in structure. And therefore, just because you might suddenly experience yourself as all that is, doesn't mean it's necessarily finished. Because you could experience yourself as all that is from one perspective, experience yourself as all that is from another perspective, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. The ring has no beginning, the ring has no end. Existence just is. And it is always, always, always becoming and being simultaneously. Again, the paradox shows its head. In light of the idea now that you may have a bit of a reflection of the idea of consciousness being a reflection, being a sense of self based on the sense that there is another that seems, that appears to not be you. Of course it is. But appears not to be you. You have a sense of that game of existence that it plays with itself to awaken itself to new understandings of exactly what it is. Does this seem to be somewhat helpful? All right. Just absorb it in your own way. Doesn't matter how you interpret this. It's your own journey, your own path. You are your own reflection. You are your own representation of all that is. And without your unique perspective, all that is couldn't be all that is. So always please remember, you are valid, you are valuable, because if you weren't needed, believe me, you wouldn't exist, because all that is doesn't make mistakes. So the fact that you exist is validation enough to prove that all that is needs your unique perspective, your unique reflection, your unique experience in order for it to actually be all that it can be. Make sense? Make sense. All right. We understand that in your world of time and space, your time is a little bit limited, so let us begin with sharing and exchange, if you wish, with your questions and dialogue.